Hey, welcome to another episode or a power-packed podcast of the Solar Cleaners Network. My name's Kim Verduyckt. I'm the founder of the Solar Cleaners Network and the upcoming SCN magazine. Today, I'm really thrilled to speak with somebody who's not only leading the charge in solar panel cleaning across continents, but also shaping the future of our industry through education and innovation. Joining me today is Mr. Steve Williams, multiple award winner with his company Clean Solar Solutions in both the UK and the US. In the meantime, creator of Scaring Birds and also the visionary behind the International Solar Cleaning Academy, ISCA, as we all know it by now. If you're in the solar cleaning space and you haven't heard about Steve Williams' name, you're probably living under a solar panel. So, hello, Steve.
Hey, Kim. Thank you very much for having me tonight.
How are you doing?
Yeah, very well. Very well. Busy as always on multiple fronts, but trying to fight the fine fight.
Yeah, absolutely. You've taken on a role inside our industry as something that I wouldn't be looking forward to. Safety.
Yeah, you don't win
For
many
quite
friends.
a few years, you're the face behind safety.
Yeah, it's not. You don't win many friends when you're talking about safety and trying to enforce this and regulate that. So you can make some enemies along the way, as I have.
Before we dive into that, this podcast is more about the person behind the successful business, but we also talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. And I would like to dive a little bit deeper with you in who is Steve Williams before the whole circus started in solar cleaning.
How far back would you like me to go? Birth, or shall I come forward a few years? So I suppose to provide context, like many of the viewers, I was born into a poor background. So for our American viewers, they would say I was born in Section 8 housing. For the UK viewers, council estate kid, a rough bit of Birmingham. My parents moved to Telford, which was a Birmingham overflow town, but still not particularly great. Never any money around as a kid. I remember having cereal with water at certain stages growing up as a kid. So there was no milk, not enough money for milk, not enough money for sugar even to go on the cereal. So times are not always great. Born into a high control religious organization as well. Some may call it a religion, some may call it a cult, depending on their take. So that sort of shaped my whole life, really. So the religion wasn't part of my life, it was my whole life. And so I was raised a certain way, and there were certain activities you just were not allowed to engage in at all. You're stood out very differently at school. There's certain school activities that you wouldn't partake in. But I was advantaged in some ways as well. My mum, she taught me to read and write before I entered nursery school, as we call it in the UK, or kindergarten in the US. So I arrived at kindergarten aged 4. I could read very well. Apparently, I don't remember it, obviously, but I was assessed and I had a reading age of 9 when I was 4 years old. I knew all of my times tables up to 12 timetable. I could do division up to 12. So I arrived at school with a lot of the work that my mom had put in the background, very well equipped. So I was always ahead of the other kids at school in terms of the school projects. So I finished my work very, very fast compared to the other kids, which allowed me to do like extracurricular activities. Teachers were always giving me extra tasks to do. And then when I was 9, I'd read every school book in the school. And so they were taking me off to the public library to get books. I remember being taken to a bookshop when my mom and dad were still together. So they split up when I was 9. I remember being taken up to a bookshop and they said, you can have any book that you want out of this bookshop and we'll buy it. And the one that I wanted and actually came away with was volume 1 of the Encyclopedia Britannica from A to C. They said, why do you want that book? And I said, look how many words are in this book. And I loved the fact that it was in logical order. It was A, then it was AB, and then it was AC. And I loved the orderliness of that. And so that was like an early memory of my reading activities. And then when I was 13, I was entered by the school into a national maths challenge, and I came second in the UK in a national maths challenge. I didn't really view any of these things as being unusual. I just did them. And then in later life, I've discovered other things that I'm able to do, which is like recall information that I see very easily. So if I read something once, I usually retain it. But also, if I witness an event, then I can recall that event with what turns out to be incredible detail according to court cases that I've been in. I've been, a witness at a couple of court cases. And when I've described what I can recall from 7 months previous, they say it's like you're literally playing back the CCTV that we have viewed, and you're given a running commentary of that. So, those sorts of unique, I guess, skills or gifts or whatever you want to call them were also picked up by the religious folks around me, the older people in the religion. And so I was given many tasks at a young age. I was given some of the more extracurricular tasks there. I was doing some legal training for them. I was doing some hospital training for them, for getting involved in medical cases to help people who found themselves in emergency medical situations to not have some forms of treatment, but to enable them to have other forms of treatment. So that was my life, really, was wrapped up in the cult and the things that they had me do. And I was a full-time minister, knocking doors and preaching for many years as well. And so I did that for, from the age of 16 through to the age of 34, with just the 3-year break in between when we had 2 children. So I was very engaged in that. And then that was kind of the life there. And then I guess life was not always easy. I've had some struggles when my mum and dad split up. That affected me in many different ways, and it didn't really surface until later in life when my children were born. So I was stopped twice in the process of committing suicide by dog walkers in very remote areas on 2 different occasions. So consider myself to be extremely fortunate to even be here, because, as you know, I'm a researcher and I like the detail, and I'd researched how to carry out that act in great detail, and I knew exactly what I was doing, and I would have succeeded had I not been physically stopped. It's been a bit of a rock and roll ride. And then when I was 34, I left the cult and sort of started a new life, a new path. I lost at that time my wife, my 2 children, the home that I lived in, all of my friends and all of my social network. I lost over 50% of my family. They wouldn't talk to me anymore. So I just had to do like a whole reset, a total reset of my whole life, which was very difficult to do when you lose everything you've ever known and you don't understand the outside world, outside of the cult. Then it's pretty difficult to try and reprogram your mind after you've got to deprogram it. So that was a challenge. And then at the same time as I was
That was all because of the religion.
partially, yes, partially going back to childhood experiences as well. So there was a sort of a mix of circumstances from my past that led me to a point where I felt that I wanted to just come away from the marriage that I was in, and that in turn led down the path of being kicked out of the religion as well. And I lost everything, and so there was only me, my laptop, and a fridge, freezer, and a microwave. That was it. That's all I came away with. And it's funny, really. I can look back and laugh about it now, but it wasn't funny at the time. But when I got into my apartment, I plugged in the fridge and I plugged in the microwave and I plugged in my laptop, and well, it was a PC, a standbox PC, and none of them worked. And when I took the back off the PC, found out my ex-wife had smashed up all the inside of my PC. So she was like, "Well, if you can't work, then you can't earn." She'd taken the back off the microwave and smashed the microwave up in the back and screwed it all back together. And when I took the back off the fridge freezer, she'd smashed the back of the fridge freezer up as well and screwed all that back together. So when I left, it was a bit messy, and I just had to like literally restart everything from scratch. And the only thing that I had to do, Kim, the only thing you can do when you've got no wife, no kids, no faith, no family, no friends left is work. And so at the same sort of time as I was drawing myself away from the religion, solar was starting to introduce itself into my life. And so I was able just to sort of wholly focus on the business, and work became my life, and it became the definition of who I was.
What was your profession before all this then?
So I was a window cleaner, but again, I look back now and yes, chiefly I was window cleaning, but in the late 90s, so 1999, I got this thing called a website, which was pretty mind blowing for people to to think of back then. They were like, what's this website that you've got? And I said, I've set one up for my business and I think it's going to generate inquiries. I think that's what's going to happen with these websites is I think people are going to go online and I think they're going to inquire through the website. And people are like, well, hope it takes off for you. And I was like, yeah, thanks. And so I was a very early adopter of a website in the business. And then I grew other services off the back of that, sort of gutter cleaning and pressure washing. And I went on a training course and invested on a training course on how to seal driveways, how to reseal tarmac, how to reseal imprint concrete drives. And so, yes, it was chiefly a window cleaning company, but I tried to incorporate these other innovative technologies and cleaning services into the business as well. And then in 2012, I would have been 32 at that stage. And one of my window cleaning customers said, oh, we've got these things on the garage roof, our solar panels, and they're starting to get dirty. Can you clean them? I was like, what, you want me to spray water onto an electricity creating device with a metal Brodex pole in my hand as was? I was like, I'm not crazy, I'm not doing that. So they said, okay. So 2 months later, I went back to clean the windows on that house again. And they said, we can't find anybody to clean our solar panels. And I said, well, it's too risky for me. I'm not interested. And then 2 months after that, I went to clean the windows and they said, we still can't find anybody. And I said, you've got to be typing the wrong thing into Google. I'll find you a solar panel cleaning company. So I finished work early, about 1 p.m. that day. I drive home, I fire up the computer, trying to find a solar panel cleaning company locally, just couldn't find one. And it kept me awake that night a little bit. I was dwelling on it, thinking, is there anything sort of to do here with this? And so the next day, instead of going out to work, I sat on the internet for over 8 hours trying to find a solar panel cleaning company anywhere in the UK. So all the search terms that I was typing into Google, nothing was coming up, not a single web page. So I called some companies in California, Germany, and Spain who were solar panel cleaning companies. I asked them my health and safety questions about potential electrocution, and all of them said exactly the same thing. And their answer was, we've never even considered that, but it's an excellent question. Solar panels were still early technology then. And so I had to self-educate about what a solar panel was, how a solar panel worked. Could it electrocute me? The answer is yes. And so I'm glad that I learned that early on. So in the early part of the solar panel cleaning career, I was going around turning all the inverters off and on because I knew no better. And I thought that would protect me. And then my education and knowledge developed and sort of led up to where I am today. And so we've always tried to introduce additional safety measures to protect against electrocution. Having been electrocuted twice, I know how much it hurts, and I know that nobody really wants it.
So this all started in, what year was it?
2012 on the solar side of things. Yeah, I'd bought a new van, and in the CD player of this new van was a CD. The blank CDs when you could burn your own CDs. Kids, if you don't know what a CD player is, go Google it. And so this CD, I didn't know what it was. And I thought, I'll just listen to this guy's music, the guy I bought the van from. I thought I'll listen to his music, see what it's about. And then I heard a guy called Jim Rohn start talking, an American sort of business thought leader. And 53 minutes and 26 seconds of that CD later totally changed my attitude toward this solar opportunity. And I thought, yeah, I'm gonna go with it and see where it takes me.
The first question that comes to mind is because we're still struggling selling the service from time to time because of all the misconfusion going on about rain cleans my panels or not, and how was that back in the days in 2012?
Well, yeah, I went to my first show at the NEC in Birmingham, first solar show in 2013. I made some business cards and just walked around the show, just trying to give out solar panel cleaning business cards. And I was laughed at, I was shouted at, I was scowled at, and everybody thought that I was totally crazy for even suggesting it. All of our solar panels are self-cleaning. How dare you walk around here and suggest otherwise? And there was a lot of animosity towards me at that show. And then 2013 came around, late 2013 came around, and I was contacted by British Gas, who are the UK's biggest energy supplier. And they said, oh, we've seen that you've got a solar panel cleaning web page on your window cleaning website. Are you interested in talking to us about a national contract and we're going to split it out into 7 regions. We're interested in speaking to you, so if you want the central region, which is where I lived at the time in the UK. So I was like, yeah, okay. So I shined some shoes and went down in one of my suits to their head office. And I'd been in many boardrooms, Kim, to clean the windows, but I'd never been asked to sit at the table ever. But here I found myself sat at this really long table. And there were 3 people on one side, me on this side, a note-taker lady down that end of the table who didn't acknowledge my existence or speak to me at all for the process. She was just there to take notes. And we had about an hour and a half discussion with them, or I had an hour and a half discussion with them. And then at the end, they said, okay, we know what you can offer to us. What do you want from us? And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, you know what, Williams, you're only ever going to be here once. So I said to them, I want the national contract or none of it. So they looked at each other and sort of laughed and smiled and said, we hoped you were going to say that because we can't find anyone else with your knowledge. So I was like, okay. So I walked out of the room with a 3-year contract to clean 55,000 panels a year, which was a massive undertaking at the time. You know, I mean, we've cleaned sites that are 3 times as big as that manually. The biggest site we cleaned to date manually was 189,000 panels on a ground mount. But at the time of winning that contract, 55,000 panels, nobody in the UK had done anything like that or attempted it. So I had to figure out how to build a national company in 3 months. And then that first year I fulfilled the contract and didn't make any money, but I was able to use their logo on my website. British Gas, approved contractor, and the work just kept coming in from all sorts of different places because they said if you're good enough for British Gas, you're good enough for us. So that was how the business was built, really, from the early days.
Inspiring. What's even more inspiring is you won a lot of awards in the UK.
Yeah, I don't know how many I've won. Probably 8 or 9 awards. So some have been local awards, some have been national awards. I've won awards on a company level. So Clean Solar Solutions was awarded Best O&M Provider of the Year in 2017 and again in 2022. Bear in mind that we're going up against big national O&M providers that have got hundreds of millions of pounds worth of backing. So for us as a lowly solar panel cleaning company to show to the judges that we were elite, even though they were a micro in scale, was a real achievement. And then I've won personal awards as well. So in 2019, in between the 2 company awards, I won UK Solar Innovator of the Year in 2019. And so I was against companies again. But when I read the application and the award criteria, I thought, well, yeah, it applies to a company, but I think it applies to me as a person as well. So I applied and the judges saw fit to give me that award. And then I've won numerous other sort of business management awards and directorship awards and energy awards off the back of that. And my most recent one was October 2024 when I was recognised as a UK energy efficiency champion. So that was quite a nice award to receive as well. So I've been fortunate enough to sort of see the fruits of my labour. Yeah.
Right. Now we do see the success. We see the success of Clean Solar Solutions. We see the success of Scaring Birds, which is another one of your companies, and ISCA that's been getting quite the attention and getting really popular, but it hasn't been a success all the time. You had some struggles as well.
Yeah. I've had some really, 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 really hard times. Yeah. So Clean Solar Solutions in between 2013 and 2018 was only going one way, and that was up. I was every single year, I was struggling to get enough staff due to the demand for the work coming in. We were doubling our turnover every year for about 3 or 4 years. So we were growing at quite a pace. And I got to the stage where I had 26 people working for me at the time. I was running 4 businesses out of one office, and there were people on tools. I think we had like 6 or 7 vans on the go. Eight. We had 8 vans on the go, and I had several people working in offices as well. And I had an internal fraud. So the accounts lady that I employed was very good at her job, too good, it would appear, because she started to put her hand in the till. And she was taking cash from certain elements of one of the businesses that I had. Then she started taking cash from a different business that I had and siphoning that through without my knowledge. And then she was creating false invoices. So the invoice would be totally the company heading with the correct address and the correct logos, but the bank account that people were paying into was not our company bank account. So what was happening is we were suffering the expense side of the job. So we were booking cherry pickers, we were paying for hotels, we were paying for the fuel, we're paying for the wages. The lads would go out and do the job. We'd do the job very well. We'd add all the expense on the front end of the project, but then these invoices started to not get paid. And I was saying to the accounts lady, can we chase this? Can we chase this? And she says, yeah, I'm chasing. And they're just not paying. Well, it turns out they were paying, but just not into our bank account. So there was about £170,000, close to $250,000 US that had gone missing out of the companies over a 9-month period. And then due to the way that the business was running, obviously, when your cash flow coming into your company starts drying up, but you're continuing to do the work, then you're accruing debt. And so by the time that we discovered the fraud, we were about £180,000. So again, close to $250,000 in debt. So we owed people that money. So I called my accountant. The day that I realized something was wrong, I called my accountant straight away and I said, I think I've got a fraud. And in less than an hour, he was in the office and we stayed in the office together till turned 11 p.m. that night. And he said, yeah, he said, you've had a fraud. He said, and this is how they're doing it. And they showed me how they were doing it. There were 2 people involved, actually, my operations manager and my accounts manager as well. So it was a difficult time. So I said to my accountant, what do I do? And he said, you've got to shut everything down. You've got to get out of this office. So I'd not long been in the office, about 6-7 months. He says, you've got to get everything. You've got to sell all your vehicles. You've got to get rid of all your staff. You've got to cut all the overheads of your business right down. Otherwise, you're going to be bankrupt in weeks. So I was like, okay. So the next day was the hardest day I've ever had in business. I had to make 24 people redundant and I had to sack 2. And then it was just reduced down to me and my wife, as was at the time. So just the 2 of us. And I just had to go back out as sort of a pair in a van, going out cleaning panels. And I was trying to answer the phones and answer all the emails for a business that was doing the work of 26 people, trying to do that on my own while I'm stood on a roof cleaning solar panels all at the same time. So I obviously lost a lot of work because I couldn't keep up with the flow and the demand for work. So that gave other people who were my competitors the opportunity to get inside my contracts and inside my network of customers. So that really set the business back. And then I'm thankful that I was able to work hard enough to keep Clean Solar Solutions going. I cleared every single penny of the debt. So I wrote an email to everybody that I owed money to. And I said, this is what's happened. We've had a fraud. I have no idea when I can pay you back. But if you take me to court, I have no assets. I have nothing left. You will dissolve my business and liquidate my business. Or if you don't take me to court, you have my word that I'll pay you back. But I don't know when that'll be. So over the next sort of 48 hours, all these emails started coming back in from all my suppliers saying, you've always paid on time. You've always been honest to deal with. We understand your situation. You pay us when you've got the money. And so it took me about 2 years to clear that debt, just over 2 years to clear everything. So I was working 2 years for free, basically, to pay other people off. A lot of people thought I was crazy. They said, just shut the company, start it up under a different name and go again. But my morals and the way that I'd been raised was that if you owe a debt, then you pay it. And so I paid all that money back to everyone. And then over the next couple of years, I regrew the company. I got it back up to 16 people. And then I had my closest competitor pull a dirty stunt. He made a private approach for my field manager. I'll condense this story a little bit, but basically he made an approach for my field manager, offered him double the salary that he was on with me, plus an additional £30,000 if he would, so $40,000 if he would download our client list off our CRM and sell it to this other company. And the other caveat was you can't come on your own. The only way you get all of these perks and this big fat salary is if all of the people leave Steve's company and come and work for me. So I was away on business and I got a phone call from my office manager at about 3 p.m. and she said, are you sat down? And I was like, I can be. Why? And she said, everybody's come in, put their keys on the table, handing in their bags of their PPE, and they've all said that they're leaving. And I was like, what?
On the spot.
Everybody's gone. Yeah, literally. Yeah, on the spot. So I said, everyone's gone. And she said, yeah, they're not coming back. They've all gone to work for this other company. So I was like, we'd just taken out £100,000 of finance. So we were on track that following year to do about 1.2 million, 1.3 million turnover in the business. Again, I'd just moved into offices. I was in those offices less than 4 weeks, and I had to move out of them again because of other people's antics. But I'd signed a 3-year contract on the rent. I signed a 3-year contract on the internet. I signed a 3-year contract on waste disposal. I bought a load of new equipment. I just, we'd invested heavily, and I'd bought another robot as well. So that was our third robot that we had. And then I was left in a position where I had to get rid of everybody again and take it all the way back down again to 2 people. And then, that was another struggle where I'd got the bills of 16 employees, but no one to do the work. And so that happened in 2022, I think. And so I've rebuilt again back from that event. So yeah, it's been rock and roll. I say to people, I've ridden the solar coaster. I've had the extreme highs with the award wins, and I've had extreme lows with the fraud and the deceit of other people. And my biggest problem in the business, Kim, has always been my own stuff. It's always been the people. It's never been the websites. It's never been the amount of work. It's never been the equipment that I've bought. It's never been the strategic moves that I've made. It's always been the underhand behavior of other people in the business that sort of let us down. Yeah.
Where do you keep getting the motivation to keep going on as an entrepreneur? I'm pretty sure you've thought many times, I'm just going to go back to my 9 to 5.
Well, I've never had a 9 to 5. So I set up my first business at 16. So I've never worked for anyone apart from when I was at school and I had a Saturday job working on a market store selling biscuits and crisps. I've never worked for anyone. So I don't know what it's like to have a 9 to 5. I've never had one. But I think I don't really know where I've got the motivation from, really. When I had the fraud, I was going to shut Clean Solar Solutions down because I was 2 weeks away from bankruptcy. And I've been 2 weeks away from bankruptcy 3 times over the years. And the first time it happened, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to close everything down. I'm going to go push supermarket carts or trolleys around in Walmart for a year and figure out what to do next with my life. What's interesting is the sales manager that I had at the time when that fraud happened, she said to me, she said, you can rebuild this. She said, because nobody on the outside world knows what's happened. You've still got the brand. You've still got the reputation. She said, I believe in the brand. Clean Solar Solutions, the brand is strong. I believe in the service that you offer, which is solar panel cleaning. There's always going to be demand for that now. And she said, but most of all, she said, I believe in you. And I still get emotional when I think about her saying that, because I felt shit at that time. I thought I've lost everything, and I felt that people had taken my dreams away from me, and it was extremely difficult. And so when somebody comes along and says that to you, it's hard to believe that in yourself, because you just don't think that you're worth anything at that stage. She said, just take one day at a time and just try and keep it going. She says, you've got everything around you. She says, you've got the mental tools and the intelligence to build this back. Just build it back one block at a time. And that'll be the best revenge that you can give to all these people. And I guess having survived the fraud is what helped me survive the second occasion when everybody left. It was like, well, I've been here before, and it's a little bit of muscle memory at that stage, as you know the process, you know how to shrink a company back down to 2 people, and you know how to rebuild to grow it again, and you know how to clear a shed load of debt, and so all the principles that I learned from the fraud, I did again when everybody left and went to the competitor. And so where do I get the motivation from, Kim? I think it comes from literally having nothing in my life after I left my wife and the religion, apart from work. Work got me through my depression. Without work, I wouldn't have survived that, because I needed a raison d'etre. I needed a reason to be, and work has always been that. And I've worked 100 hours plus every single week for, well, where are we now? 2025, 10 years. Always like way more than 100 hours a week often. And I think only the last sort of maybe 6 to 12 months have I come down below 100 hours a week sometimes. But work is what I do. It's just me.
Will it ever be enough? Because you not only have Clean Solar Solutions UK, you also have the US, you have Scaring Birds, God knows what else that I'm not aware of.
Yeah. There's 8 companies in total across the UK and the US that I've got. And I might be taking on a 9th soon, so we'll see where that goes. Will it ever be enough? My motivation is never money. I've had money come to me and I've had it taken away from me, and money is very transient. Whatever money comes and goes, it just comes and goes. I can earn it and I can spend it. My motivation has never been money. My motivation has always been the personal challenge of what can I actually get done with this idea? Can I actually read the books as a child? I've read the dictionary twice. I read it from the age of 13 to 14, and I read it again when I was 19 to 20. Can I do things like that? The answer is yes. Can I build a business from an idea that's just in my head and bring it and birth it and grow it? And the answer is yes. And so I don't really, although I know I work a lot, I don't view it as being work because I love doing what I do. There's bad times in it, but Rory McIlroy gets paid to play golf, and Ronnie O'Sullivan gets paid to play snooker, and Cristiano Ronaldo has been paid a lot of money to play football. But for them, it's not about the chore of going to work. It's just, well, this is what I do and this is what I love doing, and I happen to get paid for it. And I'm a little bit the same with the businesses. Is I enjoy the life of an entrepreneur. I enjoy the challenges. I enjoy the mental stimulation from it all. Happens to be that I get paid for it as well.
Talking about mental stimulation, ISCA, the International Solar Cleaning Academy. What made you decide to start that?
So that concept goes back to 2013 when I won that contract with British Gas, because the only way that I could get national is to set up a subcontractor network. So I set up this subcontractor network, and I had like a year after I did that, I had 80 different subcontractors out working all across the UK that I could get a job in an area, send it out to that company, and they would go do the work. And sometimes I was earning more sat at my desk just subcontracting the work out than we were earning internally. And so when we had a national contract, so we had a different contract from a different company, which was cleaning the panels on 104 supermarket rooftops all over the UK. And the first time we did that contract, all these reports started to come in, but they all looked different. They all gave me different information. Everybody had different health and safety sort of protocols. And my customer didn't like it. They were like, Steve, all these reports, you've got 104 reports from 20 different companies, and they all look different. They said, you have to unify it. You need a better reporting system, and you've got to unify everything. So what I did was I started with the safety element, and I already sort of figured out how solar panels work from my research and everything else. And so I spent the following sort of 6 months creating a training course that would teach people the clean solar solutions level of safety. So if you're going to carry on being my subcontractor, you need to pay me to do my training course, and then I'm going to send you out to do my jobs. That's a risky move, Kim, because if everybody turns around and says, no, I'm not paying you, then I lose all my subcontractors. I didn't lose a single one. Every single person said, yeah, I'll pay to do the training, because they knew that the training was going to pay them back. So in those days, I was like delivering the training to 40, 50 people in a hotel room, in a conference room, and sending them home with a clean solar solutions certificate. So people think that ISCA certificates are worthless. They're not, but people think they are. But actually, you were going home with a clean solar solutions certificate, which was nothing more than I've attended the clean solar solutions training and I'm a contractor of theirs. And people were putting the clean solar solutions logo on their website. The logo was bringing them in work. They were like, wow, okay, I'm associated with this clean solar solutions company, but the fact that I'm one of their contractors means I'm growing my window cleaning business, or whatever it was that they were doing. So that was the concept. Then I had somebody attend the very first event and actually got really good at panel cleaning and running a business. And they're now a relative competitor over here in the UK. And when I found out that their company got traction, I stopped training people in the UK. I was like, all I'm doing here is setting up a competition for myself. And it was at the same time as I was organically growing my own business as well. So I stopped subcontracting everything, and I just bought all the cleans in house and grew the company. But then what sort of changed again was I recognized there's a bigger picture here. I visited the International Window Cleaning Association convention, and I was asked to speak about panel cleaning over there. And ISCA was a small concept at that stage, but I realized there was this huge appetite and hunger for people that wanted to learn and actually needed to learn as well. So there was very little health and safety considerations to everyone in those classes, and people like Roger Barnhart, who some may know. Roger got up halfway through the class, called his office and said, if we've got anybody cleaning solar panels out there today, pull them off the job, and we don't clean another solar panel until they've done the ISCA training. And he was one of the few that made that sort of call. And so that's, the early training course of training my subcontractors is what birthed the idea that actually I can blow this up to a global scale because in my opinion, certainly, every solar panel cleaner needs to be trained and needs to have their knowledge increased and understand the equipment that they're working on. So that's sort of the concept of how ISCA got going.
Yeah. I'm all for better standards, better safety practices, so we can all go home safe. But you did get a lot of pushback on it online.
Yeah, and I think to a degree I still do as well, probably in certain quarters, and I'm very public and I've never been scared to sort of give my opinion. I believe everybody should have a training certificate. Now, whether that's done through ISCA, fantastic. For me, it's not about the money. I have to get paid for my time. I have to get paid for the 10,000 hours of research that I've put into this business in the background. I should be compensated for that. But the main driver is making sure, as you say, everybody goes home safe. That's the main driver. And so that's what it's all about, really. And so I just feel strongly that we should be a better regulated industry than we are currently. And I work hard in the background talking to multiple health and safety organizations across the world saying we need to get some form of official regulation in here that forces people to be trained. Because if you think about it logically, Kim, you used to be an electrician, right? Yeah. So back in the day, you're an electrician. So you had to go through exams and you had to go through training to become an electrician. And all the solar installers that are out there installing solar panels, they have to have training. They have to have certain certificates in every country that you go to. When you're installing a solar array, 95% of your work is done when the system is off. It's not even on. So if you've got an electrician who is educated and has had to have training and had to have certification, yet 95% of their work is done when the system is dead. When we're solar panel cleaners and we're working on solar panels that are live 100% of the time, and we're spraying water onto those solar panels, why would we not need training? Why would we not need certification? And so that's my logic, is we have the riskiest end of the deal in the solar industry. No idiot is going out there spraying water onto electricity creating devices apart from us lot. So if the installers need training, we need training. It's straightforward in my mind.
Yeah, correct. Couldn't agree more. Besides the risk of electrocution, and some people might start laughing now, but even you can get electrocuted by DC current. Yeah. Okay. So we can get that out of the way. But what are the other risks when it comes to cleaning solar? Because we recently saw a fatal casualty.
Yeah, this week within the last...
Not the first one, but directly related to the electricity. But where do the most accidents happen?
Most accidents happen as falling from height. And our mutual friend, Mike Draper, is a big advocate of making sure that people know how to work at height safely. There are more working at height accidents that are recorded in the solar panel cleaning world that have been reported than there have been electrocutions. I think if you fall from height, you're going to hurt yourself. I mean, there was the guy in Australia and he went through a 5-meter high roof, went through a skylight, landed on the concrete and died on the spot. There's been multiple incidences of people falling through farm roofs, again, through skylights on commercial roofs. So the working at height element, I would say, outweighs, statistically at least, the electrocution incidents. But there's also a fundamental flaw in how a solar panel cleaning accident is recorded. So, for example, let's say I get electrocuted while I'm cleaning solar panels. My health and safety executive here in the UK gets involved and they investigate that case. It will go down as one or two things. It will go down either as a roofing incident or it will go down as an electricity incident. They're not going to write specifically it was a solar panel cleaning incident, because it doesn't have its own category. There's no code next to solar panel cleaning, but there is a code for a roofing incident or a code for an electrocution incident. In the same way, there's a code for a working at height incident. So just because we don't have statistics to draw on specifically for solar panel cleaners, it doesn't mean that we're not being wrapped up in these working at height or electrocution incidents or roofing incidents. We will be wrapped into those figures instead of having a standalone category of our own.
So your education platform, or your ISCA, it's not only for the UK, obviously. So you've actually translated the entire course in different languages.
Yeah. I think the course at the moment is in 34 languages, covering 30, that's 30 different countries. So I've done all of the groundwork for that myself. I've done all the website work for myself. I've built all the web pages myself. I've done the PowerPoint presentations myself. The only thing that I've not physically done are the literal translations. So I've got people on Fiverr to do the translation from English into Hindi or English into French or English into Dutch, so I've got other people to do the actual translations. But apart from that, I've put thousands of hours into ISCA to sort of turn it into what it says on the badge, the International Solar Cleaning Academy. I always had a vision that it would be a global business and a global education program. And so the only way that I can rightly say that is if I translate it. So we've had an inquiry come in the last couple of weeks. We can read English perfectly, but it'd be nice to have this in Swedish. Well, you don't associate Scandinavia and the weather in Scandinavia with a big solar industry. But as soon as we have an inquiry for a particular language, okay, we will now translate the course into Swedish and we'll upload it onto the website. And all the time that happens, we're growing our international reach. And more people are coming to us saying, I need to get ISCA trained because my bid requires it or my client requires it, or in our country, we're being asked for ISCA training. So as you've touched on already, it does get mocked and scorned maybe in some sectors, but I know what's going on with ISCA and I have the bigger picture, and you might have a microcosm of an opinion in your solar panel cleaning business, but I deal with a lot of people all over the world and I know exactly what direction it's all going in, and it's going in the direction of advancement and one that will professionalize the industry.
Where do you see ISCA standing in the next 12 months? What's your dream outcome, so to speak?
I would like to see organizations like NABCEP. And NABCEP, if you're watching or you hear this, I keep trying to contact you and not getting much response, but I know that you're an organization in the US that can really help. Obviously, OSHA in the US is the health and safety body. Whether they will rubber stamp it or not is less likely, but to get their attention would at least be a good thing. And then in the UK, we've got several organizations, Solar Energy UK. We've got the MCS, who are they're an accrediting body for solar arrays. They have nothing to do with the O&M world, but they, even this morning, off the back of me informing them about the death of that solar panel cleaner from electrocution, they're now saying, well, we need to get engaged in this. And really, we do recognize what you've said all along as being the need for compulsory training. So if MCS in the UK say we want compulsory training and ISCA is the flagship, ISCA is where you're going to go and get your training from, then that's where I see ISCA having strength in the future. And if I can roll that model out in multiple countries, then like IPAF, the International Powered Access Federation, recognized in many countries all over the world, they are the go-to training company for cherry picker and boom lift hire training. And it's never going to be law that you need an IPAF license to operate a cherry picker, but everybody in the commercial space wants you to have an IPAF license to operate a cherry picker. It's the same in the US. They have the different suppliers and different training bodies, but everybody wants you to have that license. So while it will never be law to have ISCA training in order to clean a solar panel, it is becoming the recognized body that people say, have you got your ISCA certificate? Yeah. Okay. You can.
Right. You expanded from the UK to the USA. What difference do you see in those two markets?
So you're in Belgium, I'm in the UK. If you take up all of the European solar market and put it into one ball, it's roughly about as big as the USA. So the solar industry across Europe is roughly the same size as the solar industry in the US. As you know, I've done some work in Belgium and the language barrier exists. And if you're going to try and build a European business, you need to be dealing with 25 plus languages. And that's not easy to grow a business that will grow 25 countries worth of culture, language, currency. A lot of them share the euro, but certain European countries don't have the euro. Whereas the US, you're dealing with one language, you're dealing with one currency. The mindset and the culture from the UK to the US is surprisingly different. And it is surprisingly different for me. I've not been to the US until about maybe 8 years ago for the first time, but it's surprising how dissimilar we are in many ways. But we still have this very westernized, forward thinking way of doing things in the safest way possible. And that's the universal language, is safety. So the soiling types are different in the US as well. The frequency of cleans in places like Vegas and parts of California, they are much more frequent than they are in the UK. They don't deal in the desert areas, obviously, with the lichen that you and I have seen in our careers over here. So the challenges are different, but I want to see if I can basically rinse and repeat the expertise that we've grown through Clean Solar Solutions here in the UK and repeat that exercise out in America. And you and Ryan were talking earlier on your coffee chat about reports, and it's one of Clean Solar Solutions America's big advantages is that we're coming in with a very established reporting system from the UK, and everybody that has seen a copy of our report in the US says they've never ever seen anything like it from anybody. And so we intend on sort of capitalizing on that reporting system. And it goes back to a comment I made actually in your discussion earlier about building value into your offering to your clients and the value that we give off the back of a report. Will people pay me an extra dollar to clean the panels? Absolutely. They'll pay me the extra dollar to clean those panels because I'm giving them a 31-page report at the end of a clean. And not many people out there know how to build that type of reporting system yet. So I hope that Clean Solar Solutions America will sort of grow off the safety knowledge and the very strict safety policies that we have in place. And we're only going to be dealing with the higher end of the market as well, Kim, to be frank, because the higher end of the market are the people that demand the highest forms of health and safety and the highest amounts of data from each contractor that they send out. So I hope that we can deal with the premium end of the market as a premium offering company.
Yeah, did the same. I actually at some point offered free thermal inspections with my cleanings, just to show how far I was willing to go to provide that extra service to bring in the big players in the industry. We know each other for a long time now, and we chat a lot through WhatsApp, etc. But we also exchange a lot of business mindset quotes on Instagram.
Yeah.
You're a big fan of Stephen Bartlett.
Yep. I've met him. Yeah.
You've met him.
Yeah.
So just as a final question, because we're already 1 hour in, I'd like to ask you, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I ever received. And again, I find myself getting a bit emotional because the guy is dead. I've never met him, but I have to go back to Jim Rohn. When I first listened to that Jim Rohn CD, one of the things he said is, if you don't like where you are, leave. You're not a tree. And I mean, I'm writing my autobiography. I've been at it for a few years now. And the title of the autobiography is When to Stay and When to Leave, because I've left one parental home to live in a different parental home. I've left a religion. I've left 2 wives. I've left my children. I've had to leave friends behind. I've had to leave family behind. And if you want massive change in your life, you can do it, but it requires equally massive action. And if you find yourself living a life that you're uncomfortable with, if you're in a relationship that you're not comfortable in, if you find that your faith system is breaking down, it's okay to leave. It's okay to leave. It's okay to go and explore a different way of living. It's okay to get a tattoo. It's okay to grow a beard. It's okay to curl your mustache. It's okay to have a mohawk. It's okay to have an ambition to grow your business in America. It's okay to not be the most popular guy in the room because you talk about safety. Everything is okay. And what I find is that I've grown to love myself and like myself the more I express myself as being the man that I want to be. And if I could give the advice to anybody, it would be find yourself, spend some time alone, climb the mountains for 2 weeks on your own, go and walk the desert for a week on your own, even spend an hour on your own and talk to yourself about you. You may not like what you see when you look at yourself in that mirror initially, but I've had, lots of self-esteem issues. The cult rules with fear and guilt, and you're put down all the time and told that what you're doing is never good enough. And they always want the extra hour, the extra 10 minutes, the extra bit of effort out of you. And when you realize it's okay to say no, you feel liberated. And so that's what I would say to anyone watching is that it's okay to leave if you're not in the situation that you feel you need to be in. And that's a piece of advice that I got from, an American dead man on a CD, but it impacted my life profoundly and continues to do that. And I'm very grateful that I've made the changes that I've made, and I don't regret any of them. I feel like I'm living the most fulfilled life that I've ever had. And if it ended tomorrow through a nuclear war or an act of God direct who sent an angel to kill me, or if I was in a car accident, I would look at my life and go, you know what? That was enjoyable most of the time. And I would feel fulfilled in what I'm doing right now.
Love the journey. Steve, thank you a lot for sharing that journey today with us, sharing your mission and your wisdom.
My pleasure.
And for those that are listening, if they want to know more about ISCA, where can they go to?
They can go to the website, which is www.theisca.org. So ISCA, theisca.org. Also, I'd encourage them to come out to the Solar Panel Cleaning Convention, which is going to be in Las Vegas on the 13th and 14th of November. We're going to have, again, as we did last year, all the world thought leaders under one roof. We're going to have teaching classes, education classes, live demonstrations of equipments. You're going to be able to see the F1 next to the Sunbotics. This is one of the things that people are chatting about all the time. That's one of the few places you're actually going to be able to play with both on the same day. We've got the ISCA training going on there as well on the second day. We're getting organizations like the IWCA and the PWNA involved this year as well. So we expect it to be a bigger event than we had last year, and it's going to be a great source of information for everybody. So they are, I would say, the two main places to go. If people want to get educated, ISCA's website that carries much more actually than safety articles as well, if you dive through the news section, but also the investment on spending the money to come out to Vegas, even if you're in the UK and it's going to cost you $3,000, $4,000 to get out there. It's 2 commercial jobs when you get back home. Spend the money, invest in your business, and you'll come back a different and much more wise business person and solar panel cleaner than before you went. So they're the 2 places I'd encourage people to go.
All right. Nice. Thanks again, Steve. And this wraps up another inspiring episode of the Solar Cleaners Network podcast. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe, share with your team. Come join us at the Solar Cleaners Network, www.solarcleanersnetwork.com. And until next time, stay sharp, stay clean, and stay ahead. Bye-bye.